Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football, and we're doing pretty good in the preseason.
Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at the past week and a look ahead to one more preseason game. This one back in the Bay Area.
Today on the show, we'll reflect on some of the news and notes from this past week, and then we'll look at the Raiders' victory over the Rams in the preseason. And then we'll talk about what's next for this young Raiders team.
Okay, Raider Nation, this is the Only Nation podcast, and we want to hear from the Only Nation. So give us a call at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. You can give us a call and leave us a voicemail or send us a text message.
Here's the latest Raider news.
Early in the week, the Las Vegas Raiders announced that it will require all attendees at home games to show proof of COVID-19 vaccination through Clear mobile app and Health Pass. These features allow fans to attend the game without wearing a mask. The policy will take effect for the first regular season home game, September 13th, against the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. The Raiders are the first team in the NFL to announce a vaccine no mask policy.
I have to admit that listening to Raider Nation Radio try to explain why this is a good thing made my tinfoil hat activate. But I'll start with saying that I have had my first Pfizer shot, but I felt uncomfortable with getting my next one, for my own reasons. So I'm not anti-vax, I'm just pro-choice on this topic. And, the fact that people with health issues are unable to attend games, that's very disappointing to me, to say the least. But I will finish by saying that I'm considering getting the vaccine to try to get in to the home opener. So what they're doing is probably working for the most part.
And I have to add this. A lot of people around the country are up in arms about this, and different states have different policies. So I have to point out the fact that Mark Davis has been working closely with the governor's office, Governor Sisolak, and putting this policy together for the state of Nevada. And I understand that people around the country that may have differing policies may not agree with this, and I understand that. But again, all of this is put together in place with safety in mind. And Nevada may be different from a lot of other states, depending on where you are listening to this podcast. But again, safety is the primary thing in mind. And again, Nevada may be different from other states, but we have to look at the protection and the safety of the Raiders, organization, players, fans, everybody within the Las Vegas area.
Yeah, my issue with it is I am pro-choice on the vaccines, and even though I do have mine, but I'm pro-choice on the vaccines. It bothers me that people that have health issues where they can't take them, they're not going to be able to go to the games. And, it doesn't matter if you're season ticket holders, you're still not going to be able to go. I really think there should be some type of leeway for some of this. I know they say life isn't fair, but it's just not fair. Just because you have a weakened immune system or you had an organ transplant or you're undergoing chemotherapy or something, and you can't get vaccinated and you can't go see your favorite team play, that kind of sucks.
I think we're all kind of on the same page in saying that we're going to be looking forward to the time when all of this has gone away and we can get back to things kind of as normal.
Yeah, we
definitely
keep saying that, but it seems to be getting worse depending on where you're at. But yeah, the fact that people that are sick or having health issues, they can't get in, that's terrible. I have friends that I know personally that can't get in now, and they had tickets. So, it is kind of weird, right? Because initially the reports were coming out that, they'll give you the first shot and then you got to wear the mask. You know what I mean? Or they can give you the second shot and you don't have to wear the mask. Or maybe you might have to get the second shot and wear the masks until the second shot kicks in. But if you're fully vaccinated before you get there, it's weird, right? It's weird. But really the push is just to get people to take the vaccination. And they say that the Raiders are always first to do something in leaders. But I would have liked to see the Raiders not be the first to do this. Let, another team do it first. Because, you let everybody into the stadium, and I understand that people weren't wearing their masks and things like that, and that's what led to the concern. But, I don't know. To make it to where you can't get in without being vaccinated is definitely unfair to those that have health issues.
Last week, to get down to the 85-man roster limit, the Raiders made the following moves. They waived 5 players: quarterback Case Cookus, kicker Dominic Eberle, long snapper Liam McCullough, running back Bo Scarborough, and wide receiver Caleb Scott. They also released cornerback Devontae Bowsby and defensive tackle Ethan Westbrook. The Raiders also brought back kicker Daniel Carlson, who returned to the active roster from the reserve COVID-19 list.
It was good to see Daniel Carlson back, and good to see him getting some game action. Again, as I've said this on the podcast before, I really, really like Dominic Eberle. And I wouldn't be surprised if things go south with Daniel Carlson to see them bring Eberle in. I'm not wishing any bad things on Carlson. I'm just saying that I really like Dominic Eberle. Wasn't surprised at all to see Case Cookus let go as quickly as he was. That's kind of his MO. I really like Liam McCullough. I would like to see him maybe hang around for the practice squad. As far as the rest of the team, we'll have to wait and see how things just kind of materialize, and we'll see exactly what cuts happen this coming week. I've got my eyes on several players that I think will be part of those cuts, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens in a couple of days.
I'm glad we're finally cutting the roster down. It makes it a hell of a lot easier to study this team. But none of us were surprised by these moves. And, like you, T3, I'm glad to see Carlson come in and kick. I don't know about this other guy maybe taking this spot. I think Carlson's going to he's got it covered. He came in last year. He played well, especially with field goals over 50 yards. So I was glad to see him come in and play. But this is definitely an exciting time because we're getting closer and closer to the final roster. And, yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what happens the rest of this offseason.
And I do apologize to Dominic Eberle. Last week I referred to him as Daniel Eberle, so I apologize. You did a great job when you were with us, Dominic. Best of luck.
I'm sure he forgives you for that.
I know I do.
Oh, thank you. Suddenly the Raiders are banged up, particularly at the linebacker position. Nick Morrow went down in practice this past week. Nick Kwiatkowski was already sidelined. During the game against the Rams, Javen White went down with a knee injury and was carted off the field. After the game against the Rams, Gruden gave some injury updates. Nick Morrow's foot is being evaluated and the team will be getting White x-rayed. Darren Lee, who was also unable to play against the Rams, so the team is especially light at linebacker right now. To address that, the Raiders brought in Tavon Coney last week. Coney is a linebacker who the Raiders signed as an undrafted free agent in 2019, and he spent part of 2019 season on the Raiders practice squad.
I hope Morrow's injury isn't serious, but I believe in Kwiatkowski, and I believe that he is the starter on this defense, and he was going to be the starter. They were just working out Morrow. So luckily we got Nick Kwiatkowski to come in and play as well as he did last year. Now, Javen White's injury is definitely concerning. But again, I believe Muse will be ready to go. You saw Muse in the middle versus the run. You saw him out wide on the tight end. He got the half sack, almost got another one. He was all over the field. I like the chances we have with the Dude, Littleton, and Muse at linebacker. But number 54 and number 57, they did some decent filling in, but they're not quite the guys that we're going to need to back up this linebacking core. But we'll see what happens. T3, I know you're going to bring up potential signing later on in the episode, so we'll get back to this.
Yeah, we'll get back to that later, and we haven't seen Lee yet. Hopefully we'll get to see him against the 49ers, as well as Divine Diablo. We've already been told that has a good chance of being able to come back and play in that game. So those are two guys that can certainly help with the depth. But I will mention somebody else a little bit later in the notes. But let's hope we get some of these guys back and get them healthy and not injure any more people in the linebacking core.
And once again, the Raiders did not address the linebacking core very much during the offseason. And we're light at it again. I'm not surprised. That's all I can really say.
Agreed.
There. It's just, that's a position that the Raiders just don't want to address. And I don't know, hopefully we won't be having to sign people 6 weeks in just to be able to put a body out there.
I feel like we were all excited about Diablo coming in to play linebacker. So let's, T3, you just mentioned him playing next week. So let's not get too down on this roster right now. Yes, we need some more depth. It is probably the thinnest position on this team, but we do have some good guys lined up right now. And if Morrow, it's a foot issue, right? So hopefully everything comes back. Maybe, 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe he misses the first week or something like that. But I'm telling you, Kwiatkowski he's a tough guy. He had the pectoral injury last year, but he came back and played the rest of the season. So I think that we're going to be good. And Tanner Muse, a lot of people, maybe he's just a special teams war daddy or whatever, but the kid is showing up. And yes, he's been forced into action more so than what they may have wanted him to be on the field. But you know what? He's adjusting. And I think that his speed alone will help with him if he makes those, second-year guy mistakes. Because really, this is kind of like his rookie season, right? The same thing with Abram last year. But I think we're going to be fine, especially if Diablo can come in and play well at backup and Nicholas Morrow can get off that foot injury. I still think we're going to be okay.
Heidi's right, though. I mean, we've brought several people in through free agency, but in the last several years in the draft, we brought in some linebackers, but we haven't brought any alpha dog linebackers in. You have to go all the way back to Rolando McClain back at the early part of the decade to bring in some guy in who we all counted on to come in and be that guy. Now, Tanner Muse could be that guy. Divine Diablo could be that guy, but that would be kind of unexpected. We haven't brought in that guy that everybody expects to come in and make a difference and an impact right away. That's what we're missing.
Well, it wouldn't be unexpected to me if Tanner Muse came in and basically took over this defense. Like I said, I've been calling his name for a while. I think Tanner Muse has all the necessary tools and the right mindset to perform well in the NFL. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me. But yeah, we're thin.
We've been drafting projects. We've been drafting safeties that we want to switch into linebackers. That's not bringing in that alpha dog.
If you listen to Muse's interview, right, a couple interviews back before the game, he was talking about how he always came down. So he's used to playing in a linebacker type situation. That's why they were talking about him being a hybrid, during the draft. So you can say, yeah, we're drafting out of position, but this is the NFL. Those are the type of players when you're 6'2", 240, running a 440. I mean, come on, you can ball. And then, like I said, he's showing up on the field, but we'll see.
It'd still be nice to get an actual alpha dog. But injuries have not been limited to the linebacking core. Damon Arnette, Carl Joseph, and Marcus Mariota were all held out of the game against the Rams for health concerns. Mariota was suited up for the game, but Rick Gruden said that he's just not ready to go physically. He may get a chance to play against the 49ers, but he is still nursing a quad strain, although he was able to compete against the Rams in some scrimmage action during the past week. Perhaps a bigger concern is the calf injury to guard Richie Incognito, suffered during practice last week. Gruden said the injury doesn't appear to be serious, and it is not related to the Achilles injury that Richie suffered last year. He should be out another week, but hopefully ready to go against the Ravens.
And my big concern here is that if Richie is out and he's not able to play along with that line, and we all know that the line is 5 guys working together. And if you don't have all those guys on the field working together and getting those reps together, you don't have a unified front. And that's really what is going to protect Derek Carr and allow him the opportunity to find those receivers down the field. So that's one thing that really concerns me right out of the gates. And I've said it before, and I'll mention it again later in the podcast, my concerns about the whole Richie Incognito thing. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I will come out later and give you my true thoughts on it.
Well, I'll jump in on that Richie Incognito conversation when you bring out your true thoughts. Now, the situation with Marcus is starting to make me scratch my head. Are they hiding something serious, or are they just holding him out maybe because there's some kind of negotiations going on? I know Peterman is only playing 2s and 3s, but he's a tough SOB. He was taking hits to the head and popping right back up and running all over the place. I like how he's fighting to be the second QB on this roster, not the third QB, the second QB. He's providing the Raiders with options to trade one or the other and still leave us with a solid backup. So I'm curious to see how this Marcus Mariota situation unfolds. Now, of course, Marcus Mariota is a better backup quarterback than Peterman, but we'll see what happens, right? Because, again, like I said when Marcus first came here, he always seems to be injured and maybe not capable of picking up the offense, and he was throwing interceptions in practice. So maybe they're keeping him off the field so that they can keep some trade value. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited to see what Peterman is doing.
I think Peterman's fine. They're just holding him out. They don't want to quarterback controversy, and they might just want to hang on to him because he is such a good backup quarterback that they don't want to necessarily trade him this year. The Wednesday and Thursday practices against the Rams turned out to be very spirited. Hunter Renfrow had a really good day on Wednesday, torching star corner Jalen Ramsey several times, and it became viral on Twitter. During one play, running back Josh Jacobs was hit and his helmet came off, and things started to get a little testy between the two teams. On Thursday, some minor fisticuffs broke out, and Gruden shut down the practice and put the team back on the bus. Overall, both teams got in some good work, and none of the bad blood seemed to carry over to the game on Saturday night.
When it comes to this brawl, I like Mad Max's response to the fights. This is when you get your punches out. They were still able to show discipline on the field, and they kept their cool and played well. Again, they looked well coached, so I'm excited that we have that much fire in us to protect each other, to fight if we have to, but still be disciplined on the field. Now, the Renfrow versus Ramsey news, that's great news to hear, because I've said it many times before on this podcast. Hunter Renfrow is going to be the next greatest Raider wide receiver since Tim Brown, I believe. This kid can do it all. Return punts like a Tim Brown. He can play all three positions like a Tim Brown, X, Y, and Z. The kid can play. And so I'm excited to see that he's going up against some top talent and winning. Now, another great quote from the fights is Josh Jacobs' quote, saying that he likes that the team got the fighting spirit and that they have each other's back. Again, that is big. When you have each other's back, that camaraderie is there, and that chemistry that you want in a locker room is there. You think of yourselves as a team, as a band of brothers, and you're in it to win it together, and you're not going to let anybody step on your toes or, push on your brother. You're going to back them up. And so it's exciting to see this team defend each other. Of course, Gruden wasn't too happy, but, that's what's going to happen with these players. A lot of the players came out and talked about, that's just the way it is. Of course, the coaches did not like it. But, hey, at least we got the fighting spirit.
And, when you have joint practices, tempers are going to flare because these guys have been hitting each other on their same team for a while. And when you get a chance to hit somebody from a different team, juices can fly a little bit. And I'm just glad that nobody got injured really badly. I remember a couple of years ago, and of course it was unintentional, but I remember when our guard, and of course his name slips my mind now, Gabe Jackson, when Gabe Jackson went down when we were scrimmaging against the Rams, of course it was unintentional, but you certainly don't want to see injuries happen. But I'm glad that nobody got injured during the little skirmishes that we had. And Gruden was right to shut it down. They were getting toward the end of practice, but they saw what they wanted to see, and they just needed to kind of shut it down and hope it didn't carry over to the field on Saturday. It seemed like it didn't, which is a good thing.
Yeah, a little chippiness is no big deal. That's going to happen when you're scrimmaging another team. No big deal. Okay, let's talk about the game against the Rams. Just like last week, T3 will break it down quarter by quarter, and we'll all jump in with our analysis.
All right, so here we go. Here's the short of it. So in quarter number one, the Raiders get the ball first, and Peterman started quickly with a slant pass to Zay Jones, who's really having a good camp so far. On that first unsuccessful drive, which went 3 and out, Peterman just narrowly missed getting picked off, which came dangerously close to being a pick six. So the Raiders had to punt. So when the Rams got the ball first, they found themselves deep in their own territory, and even deeper when Nate Hobbs snuffed out a flare pass to the running back and blew it up on 3rd and long. And Nate Hobbs has been having a great camp. On the Raiders' second possession, a mixture of runs and passes moved the ball into scoring position, and Peterman even used his legs to pick up some yardage up the middle. Trey Regis dived over the pile for a short yardage touchdown, and the Raiders were up 7-0. On the Rams' second possession, poor tackling by the Raider defense allowed the Rams to pick up a first down, and then after a nice pass breakup by Javen White, the Raider defense was able to make a stop and get the ball back for the offense. When Peterman came out for the Raiders' third possession, a couple of nice passes had the Raiders on the move and into Rams territory, but no points resulted. The Raiders punted the ball away toward the end of the first quarter, and the Rams took over, going into quarter number 2, up 7-0.
My takeaway from the first quarter is that our defense is capable of keeping us in games. We forced a 3 and out on the first possession of the Rams, And yes, Nate Hobbs is having a great preseason, and he came up with a great play, a great stop at the 1. Now, I think another big takeaway was that, on that tackle that Nate Hobbs had, it was on 3rd and 18. So we've been struggling with, giving up first downs on long yardage situations, right? So you saw us get a couple of those stops in the first quarter. So our defense, we're starting to come around. And of course, these are our 2s and 3s, but this is a coaching situation right here. Our guys, they're all over the ball. They're swarming to the ball. They're in position. They're coming off of their blocks and getting into the flat and stopping the offenses behind the line of scrimmage. And that's key. I'm excited to see that our defense can put us in position when our offense is struggling to get that score and win that first quarter. Again, we got the 2 stops and then we got the touchdown to lead the first quarter. So I think that's a step in the right direction for the overall team.
I thought the offense and the defense both did decent in the first quarter. And the offense, the first drive was a 3 and out, but the second drive where they scored looked pretty good. The defense definitely made some mistakes as far as just tackling properly and getting the players down. But like you said, Nate Hobbs had a really good play. He had a really good game. Overall, as far as the first quarter goes, I'd give the team overall a B or a C. They definitely could have played better, but they could have played worse, and they did play worse later in the game.
So starting quarter number 2, the Raiders started on defense. The Rams' offense couldn't do much and had to punt the ball away. DJ Turner made a nice return for the Raiders, setting them up for business at their own 38, but then a Peterman pass was tipped high into the air and intercepted, and the Rams were now at the Raider 40. That seemed to ignite the Rams, who continued to march down and get the ball into the end zone on a touchdown pass to a wide-open receiver. Poor tackling and a couple of blown coverages did not have the Raiders looking as good as we've seen them previously during the preseason. Now the score was tied at 7-7. When he got the ball back, Peterman made a couple of good throws, but he also hung in the pocket way too long, and he got sacked. On the second sack in a row, the ball was stripped, but the Raiders recovered. Not a good series at all, resulting in another punt. When the Rams got the ball again, poor tackling continued, and the Rams gashed the Raiders' defense with the run game. Penalties by the offensive line were eating up any gains that the Rams were making, so really they were their own worst enemy. But the Rams were still able to convert a 4th and 8 on a pass play. Again, I know you're dealing with backups, but again, it looked a lot like last year. The defense held the Rams to a field goal, and they trailed going into the half 10-7.
Yeah, the second quarter was a lot uglier than the first quarter, especially on the defensive end of the ball. Peterman was intercepted, and like you said, it did seem to ignite the Rams. The blown coverages, the missed tackles that the Raiders had was really disappointing, and it was one of the deja vu all over again moments, remembering last year. Thankfully, that didn't last the entire game, but it was disappointing to see, even though, like you said, it is backups, but you play how you practice, and these are practice games. So it's not encouraging to see that. It just felt like, hey, Paul Guenther's back. That's what it really felt like. I was wondering if he was back coaching for the second quarter.
It did kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just sunny side up, but I'm looking at it differently, right? Of course. We start off the second quarter with another stop. You know what I mean? And then we get the great return by Turner, which puts us in good field position. Okay, the tip ball, yeah, another interception. That was just a tip ball at the line of scrimmage. That's one of those plays that we don't have luck on. It would be nice to see that shit go away, but it still rears its ugly head. But hey, that did lead to the touchdown because that's when our defense started to crack. But with the short field, 4 plays and the touchdown, hey, you could say it's like last year, but I just don't think so. I think that this team held it together until the middle of the second quarter. And, of course, the 12-play drive, that's what ended up in the field goal. But, look, the defense is, we were tied 7-7 until the end of the quarter. And if you remember, right, if it weren't for the bad call, Trent Sieg recovered that muff punt within field goal range. So if it weren't for that bad call, we were in a good spot to tie the game. So we're still we're fighting the whole time. And we're staying in the game. But, of course, we're playing a professional team. and they're going to score points. But going into halftime at 7-10, we come out of that making the necessary adjustments. And a lot of people, I don't know, I'm not down with the whole all over again, this is Gunther type thing. Nah, Gunther's players were confused. They were way out of position. These guys, like I said, they were reacting and reading the plays underneath and getting off their blocks and forcing the other team to punt until the turnover on a tip ball. That's what changed, the dynamic and gave the Rams the momentum, but that was just something that happens in football. Our team was playing well. I think that our team is still fighting strong. You look at them, they're swarming. Go back and watch the game, right? It's right behind you, you're playing it, but they're not confused and out of position all the time. They are swarming to the ball. They just need to be able to get some better pressure and things like that, but these are our second and third stringers.
All right, now the Rams got the first possession in the second half, and the defense was able to hold, so good on the defense. So on the Raiders' first possession of the second half, Peterman was moving the team, but then he took a sack and the team had to punt the ball away. It was at this point that you could really see the backups on the offensive line starting to struggle. The Rams got the ball back at their own 10, and Nate Hobbs made a great interception on a deep ball, which should have never been thrown. It was into triple coverage. So Peterman, from his own 40, called his own number, and he ripped off a big gainer around the right end. After a penalty, a couple of more passes put the Raiders close. On a 4th and 1 from the Rams' 27, Gruden called the Spider 2-Y banana, and Garrett Groshek picked up the necessary yardage, so it was great to see that play. The Raiders couldn't convert the touchdown, however, and Daniel Carlson came in and notched his first field goal of the preseason. The score was now tied at 10. The Rams went back on offense and continued to pick up yardage through both the running and passing game. The quarter ended with the score tied and the Rams with the ball.
So for the third straight quarter, the defense starts off with a stop in a 10-7 game. Exactly what we need, right? You thought, oh, here we go again, right? They took the lead at the end of the second half. They're going to come in and score a point. We're going to be down by 2 possessions. We're not. Our defense comes through again because they are doing things like swarming to the ball and being in position to make plays. All right. Unfortunately, during that possession, we lose White and Kuntz, right? But again, Muse steps in, and to me, the defense starts playing better. And yes, Jones Smith and Lester Cotton did not play well, and it makes me thankful for Parker and Simpson. Now, Hobbs' INT was exactly what I want to see from our young players. In his interview, he stated that he saw the play develop and trailed off to make a play. If Arnett does this last year versus the Dolphins, we might have won that game. And that's what we need from our young guys. The guts to make a play and the intelligence to know when to take a chance. And then, of course, I love seeing the fullback pick up the first downs, but it's too bad that we couldn't get in the end zone. But a 9-play drive gives our defense that's keeping us in the game a breather, and by the end of that quarter, hey, it's 0-0 once again.
Yeah, in spite of the injuries, it was a up period for the defense. It was definitely an improvement over the second quarter. It was the offensive line's time to really languish. Omame and Jones Smith, they struggled so bad. They were like human turnstiles. And that got to feel, very, very oppressive. It wasn't something that made me feel very good just as a fan. But I just had to keep reminding myself, hey, we're talking about second, third string here. More like third string than second string. And they're probably going to be working at Walmart, after the preseason. They're not going to be anywhere on a roster or near a roster. Hobbs' interception was exactly what was needed when it happened. He had a great game. It was wonderful to see Spider 2Y Banana. And fun fact, the play that is written on our logo for the Only Nation podcast is Spider 2Y Banana. Not a lot of people have noticed that. Some people have. Good job if you have.
That's probably designed for Alec Ingold, though, right?
Hey, Gary Groshek reminds me a lot of Alec Ingold. It'd be funny if we ended up going with 2 running backs and 2 fullbacks instead of 3 running backs and 1 fullback.
That would be interesting.
It'd be interesting. But yeah, even though the Raiders couldn't convert the touchdown, it was nice to see Carlson out on the field again and being able to, kick the extra points and kick the field goals. It was just good to see him out there. But yeah, it was a good way to end the third quarter and move into the final quarter of the game.
So the Rams continued to drive going into the fourth quarter, but the Raiders were able to hold, and so the Rams lined up for a field goal. But the attempt was blocked by Darius Philon. So with 8:40 left in the game, Peterman was set up on his own 43. Avoiding a sack, a quick shovel pass to Trey Regis resulted in a big gainer. So from the 30-yard line on a second down play, Peterman then lofted a pretty ball to wide-open Marcell Ateman. Touchdown Raiders. They were now up 17-10 with a little over 6 minutes left. So even though the defense was using backups, the Rams then marched all the way down the field. On a second and goal with only 21 seconds left, Dallin Leavitt was beaten on a back corner route, and the Rams were within 1 point of tying the game. The Rams decided to go for two. Leavitt again defended on the coverage, but this time the ball was poorly thrown, and the conversion was denied. The Raiders came away with a 17-16 victory at SoFi Stadium, the team's new home away from home. And I would like to add one other thing. If I can go any more games without ever having to listen to Aqib Talib doing color commentary, I will be a happy man.
He's actually not the worst color commentator out there. He's not the best, but he's not the worst.
Screw that necklace snatcher.
But yeah, just like with the Seahawks game, the fourth quarter was where we brought it all together, where the Raiders were able to bring it all together and pull out that victory in the end. The block by Darius Philon was great. Depending on the angle, it didn't even look like he blocked it. But then if you looked at it carefully from the right angle, you could just see his fingers bending backwards and him blocking it. The shovel pass to Trey Regis, that was big. I was like, ooh, channeling Mahomes, channeling Brett Favre, That was good to see. And that touchdown to Marcell Ateman, that was just, like you said, that was just pretty. It's nice to see him being able to contribute. It's not that he's a bad wide receiver. It's just there's no room for him on the team. But he has come up with some good catches, over the years that he's been with us. The drive that the Rams had down the field, it did feel like, oh, great, we're playing prevent defense to prevent us from winning again. It ended up working out. Leavitt, it wasn't even fair for him to have to cover that guy. But he did on the final play that he needed to come through. He was able to come through. And that conversion was denied. Like you said, it was mainly because of the bad throw. But hey, the conversion didn't work. We ended up winning. So that's what matters. These are the kind of games that we need to be able to win that haven't been going our way. So it's good that even though it's just preseason, it's good to practice being in that winning spirit. And that's what I take out of the game. Some good things, some bad things, but overall, it's something really good to just head into the final preseason game on a high.
So for the fourth straight quarter, the defense starts with another stop. To me, this is exactly what you need to do as a defense to compete to make the playoffs. You got to be able to shut down the offense when they get the ball in each quarter for a couple of drives, and that's kind of what we did. Now, again, this is 2s and 3s, but these are well-coached 2s and 3s. And the offense give away the ball on another tip-off, but then the special teams came through with the block. Philon T3, you have been calling Philon's name for a while now, and he's showing up. The defense and the special team is doing their part to keep us in the game. All three phases. You got to have all three phases to win in the NFL. And then after the blocked field goal, our offense comes alive. Yes, Peterman with the great shuffle pass. I'm not thinking Patrick Mahomes. I'm thinking Rich Gannon. But to each their own. And then a solid 4-yard run sets up the deep ball to Ateman. Now, this is one thing that I noticed too in the fourth quarter, right? We did not abandon the run. So that's huge, right? That's a conservative play call that people always point out when it comes to John Gruden. But see, with sticking to the run and being able to bring that defense up is what led to that great catch by Aitman. And kudos to Peterman, right? He had a guy all in his face, and Aitman made a great catch. So, that's huge. Then the last possession that the Rams had, right? Here's where everyone is stressed out. A 16-play drive put together. But you know what? With 15 seconds to go, even though we gave up the touchdown, this defense keeps playing, and they forced a bad throw. And you can say, again, here goes Homer with this BS. But remember, against the Broncos, we won in that situation by going for the 2-point conversion. So you got to be able to execute. So our defense keeps us in the game, by shutting out the Rams in 2 quarters. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to the end of it, we're able to take the lead. And then our defense, bends but doesn't break in the end by not allowing the 2-point conversion. Yeah, that definitely was a bad throw. But hey, Muse was right there underneath, and then Levitt was watching over the top. So I thought that, that ball had to be placed perfectly. And more than a bad throw, it might even been a bad route running. But whatever, whatever it was, our defense was prepared, and that's what led to the bad throw. But again, we are staying together as a team, and we're fighting. Like, this is what it takes, all 3 phases, right? Your offense is not going to come out firing on all cylinders every single time. But if you can score more points, right, whether it's 1 or 21 more points than the opposing team, you're going to win. And our defense played well until the end of the second quarter, until the end of the fourth quarter. So, we got to kind of work on that. But look, our defensive scheme is good. It's good. It's much better than Gunther's. That's why our 2s and 3s are playing so comfortably, because again, it's like Bradley said, be aggressive and play without thinking so much. These guys aren't thinking. They're just coming off their block and they're hitting people. Amik Robinson, he was laying some wood, right? Teamer was laying some wood. Muse was laying some wood. There was a couple of missed sacks. We should have had those, but I mean, this team is they're playing well, I believe, and that's because they're well coached. It's no longer, just a well coached offense and a shitty defense. We got good coaching on both sides of the ball, and this is a defense, right? That was going up against Sean McVay. Sean McVay is no slouch, right? He's a hell of a play caller. He comes from the Gruden tree, right? But our defensive coach, Gus Bradley, our defensive coach is able to compete with the offensive mind like that and have his 2s and 3s in position to stop the opposing team's 2s and 3s. And the quarterback for the Rams was all over the place. You know what I mean? So I think our scheme is really going to fit our players in this coming season. So I'm excited to see exactly what this defense can do. I've been saying, just get us to the top 16 and we're going to go to the playoffs. This could easily be a top 10 defense if the first stringers can come out and show the same passion and can be as comfortable as these backup players in this new system. Playoff bound is the way I see it. If everything works out the way it should. Of course, we were talking about the thin linebacking position, so there's some things to be addressed, but overall, our coaching staff has this team ready to play.
Yeah, the reason I said channeling Mahomes is because it doesn't matter how ordinary anything is that he does. Everyone just swoons over it. So
not everyone.
I was like, a nice little shovel pass. Yeah, channeling Mahomes.
Not everyone swoons over Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, FYI. Most people. The announcers just swoon over it. Yeah. He could help a little old lady cross the street and the announcers would nominate him for a Nobel Prize.
You might nominate him for Heidi's Hero.
There's a thought.
No, that's not a thought. That was me being an asshat.
Yeah, that was... I just don't see him qualifying as a Heidi's Hero. It would have to be something pretty amazing. Maybe like what J.J. Watt did during the hurricane. That would qualify. But even him...
Patrick Mahomes is never going to make Heidi's Heroes. Come on now.
Now I'm going to have to look for a reason to make him one, just to make you sweat.
I'll be sick that episode.
And here are some interesting notes about the game. The Rams possessed the ball for 35 minutes, 21 seconds, versus the Raiders' 24 minutes, 39 seconds. The Raiders had 4 penalties for 45 yards. The Rams had 10 for 84 yards. Nate Peterman was 16 of 24 for 172 yards and 1 touchdown, with 2 interceptions. Nate Peterman led the team in rushing with 5 carries for 35 yards. Alex Ellis had 4 catches for 41 yards to lead the receivers. Peterman was sacked 3 times. The Raiders' defense only recorded 1 sack on the night. The Raiders must cut their roster to 80 players today and then down to 53 on August 31st.
You know, the Rams won the time of possession, but, you know, again, that came down to that drive in the end of the fourth quarter. Until then, we were pretty much neck and neck. And this is, you know, considering that we had 2 interceptions as well. So, on a bad day, the Raiders can still stay on the field and still, keep our defense rested. So I like that. And then even though we didn't win the time of possession, we were still able to win the game. So those are a couple of positives right there. 4 penalties for 45 yards. We haven't had a lot of penalties. Hopefully that continues throughout the year. Yeah, the Nate Peterman, 16 for 24, 172 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 2 tipped interceptions. Not necessarily his fault, but I love the fact that he's running all over the place. Hopefully Derek Carr starts to do a little bit more of that. And they had the bootleg. I think that got called back. So they were really working Peterman. I'm telling you, this guy is fighting hard for that second spot at QB. Alex Ellis, 4 catches, 41 yards. Okay, cool. Great job, Alex. Getting sacked 3 times, man, that does not bode well for this offensive line as far as backups. We'll see what Tom Cable can do to clean all that up. And then, yes, here we go. More cuts. Let's go. Let's get closer and closer to that 53-man roster. I'm super excited about all that.
Yeah, the time of possession was key. And, of course, we controlled the game against Seattle. And, of course, you see what a difference it makes when the other team has control of the ball. And it seemed like the Rams were able to kind of move at will when they wanted to, even though they were moving against second and third teamers. Now, the thing that really got my blood boiling, the Raiders were playing a fundamentally sound game, and then Rasul Douglas got that stupid penalty for taunting the sideline. And I was like, why in the world would he do that? And again, that's just an example of kids losing their minds. I know that we're against all these celebrations, but there's a difference between celebrating and taunting, and there's just no place for that at all. And Russell Douglas is a veteran. He knows better than that. And those are just the simple mental mistakes we cannot have. And even though it's in the middle of a game, it may not have made a difference. But in this case, it resulted in a negative play or positive play for the defense getting eliminated and gave the Rams another opportunity. So I don't like to see that at all.
Okay, T3, how about bringing us your top 3 for the week?
T3's top 3.
All right, here is this week's top 3. Number 1, KJ Wright. I'm just going to come right out and say it. He's the 67th ranked player among the NFL's top 100, just ahead of Josh Jacobs, and he doesn't have a team right now. He has both the experience and the proven success in a Gus Bradley defense, and let's face it, this linebacking core needs some more help. Gruden and Mayock, pull the trigger. Make it happen this week. Number 2, the receiving core. Now, last week, I mentioned some of my thoughts about Willie Snead. Now, I believe that as it stands now, the Raiders need to keep an extra roster spot open for either the defensive line or the O-line. So I only see 6 receivers sticking around, plus, of course, Homer DJ Turner. So I have Ruggs, Edwards, and Renfro, Jones, Brown, and Snead, and a wild card roster spot for DJ Turner, who I think has already shown enough to make this roster. And number 3, the offensive line. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I could be far off base, but I think Incognito is really close to being done. I still have both Simpson and Good penciled in as the starters at the guard positions, and it may have to start out the season that way. Now, I'll be the first one to come on here and admit to everyone if I'm wrong about Richie, and I hope that I am, but I'm not counting on number 64 very much at this point. Father Time is undefeated, and a major injury on top of that on an offensive line that's intense on every play, I'm just not seeing it. But again, I want Richie Incognito to prove me and any other doubters out there dead wrong. And that is this week's top 3.
After this past week, we need to get KJ Wright. I was kind of on the fence about signing him, but after seeing the injuries that we've suffered, we just need to buckle down, give him what he wants, and bring him in. It's that simple. He knows the defense. He's still a very good player. He would fit into a position where we're very thin. The receiving cores, like I had mentioned before, I could see 7 receivers. And the way you're saying it, 6 receivers plus a wild card position, I could definitely see that happening. I'm not sure how they would balance all the other positions, but I could see DJ Turner being that wild card running back, wide receiver type guy that actually makes the roster. And the offensive line, I really like Simpson and Good. I feel comfortable with them being penciled in as the starting players. I want Richie to be able to be there through the entire season. I think he'll be able to contribute even if he's not on the field, just with his leadership and his nastiness. But I also don't see him making it through the entire year. I hope I'm wrong. I love the guy, but he's 38 and he's coming back from a major injury. And that line is a tough position to play. I mean, they say in the trenches for a reason. It's because you're in the trenches. So I'm kind of leaning towards agreeing with you on that, T3. Hope I'm wrong. Hope you're wrong. I would love to see him, play all 17 games and, be that rock that we need. But I just don't see it happening.
So to address number one, yes, with the injuries to Morrow and White, I'd say we need to go ahead and sign KJ Wright, especially considering that he's used to this defense. Let's just hope that he won't try to get more than what he's worth because he knows how bad our situation is at linebacker. For number two, Turner does give us options on which way to go as far as keeping an extra player at any given position. But I'm still going to say just have Ingold as our third running back and use Turner as an emergency running back. He played running back in college as per Hondo Carpenter's article. Now, remember how Harris would run the ball out of the backfield? So imagine a similar situation. And if we did that, then we could keep an extra player anywhere. And I would think that it would be maybe at the wide receiver position or maybe even the linebacker position, considering all the injuries we've had at the linebacking position. But if it were to be on the wide receiver position, going back to the players that I had making the teams, I had Zay Jones not making the team. But I think that if we were to go keeping the extra wide receiver, it would be Zay Jones. But, hey, look, this kid Turner, he reminds me of Jacoby Ford. The returner. And then, of course, after Peterman got hit in the head, then the next play he threw to a guy underneath, Turner was wide open for the touchdown. So that guy is that joker we wanted, I think, Bowden to be. But this kid is the real deal. And I'm excited to see what he can do. And I would like to see him, do a hell of a lot more. This guy definitely is somebody to keep your eye on. This guy could be a great addition to this team for the next several years.
The good thing is with the roster going up to 55 players this year instead of 53, you can have either Regas or Emmons on the practice squad, and they could either one or maybe even both be activated as long as they're activated before 4 o'clock Eastern on the day before the team's game. So either or both of those guys could be on the practice squad, and either or both could be elevated to be on that roster for the game. So we do have a little bit of wiggle room there as far as running back is concerned if you look at the practice squad.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about a couple of episodes ago. I think that if they clear, right, and they make the practice squad, you could get away with an emergency running back. You know what I mean? Yes, Regas is playing well, but, where do we have more of a need, at running back or linebacker? You know what I mean? Turner really opens it up. And shout out to Hondo Carpenter for that great article, man. I'm glad that he put that out there. The day after, I was called crazy for thinking about that. Of course, I will admit, though, that I did not know Turner was a running back in college, but I did have visions of him running the ball like Harris did. I didn't want to sound any crazier than I already did at the point. But I'm excited about DJ Turner. I really am. Jacoby Ford in the making.
You were called crazy because you think we're only going to go with 2 running backs, not because it was DJ Turner.
Again, I'm not going to get into this whole argument, but I'm just saying Turner can be the emergency running back. And then, of course, if somebody got hurt, we could always activate the practice squad guys. But real quick on number 3, yes, I'm certainly concerned about Richie this close to the start of the season. This may very well be Simpson's year if Richie can't stay healthy.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was just crazy because you were saying we'd only go with 2 running backs, not because it was DJ Turner. That's it.
I know, but you can do that, though. You can go with 2 running backs. It's Ingold as your 3rd running back and still run the Spider 2Y banana. You know what I mean? Because you don't, he gives, Ingold is a running back. Ingold is that Joker type player, too. You talked about the other fullback being that, that type of player. No, I don't see, what is it, Grosek? I don't see him jumping over players. Yeah, I don't see him jumping over players. Ingold is a different animal. And then, of course, you saw us give him the ball on the fullback lead. So short yardage situations, he's good at already. So, and you could definitely see him coming, out of the shotgun, standing right next to Derek Carr and, similar to Marcel Reese. So he's your running back / fullback. And then you have your emergency running back in DJ Turner. And then you can stack up on DL, DB, linebacker, or wide receiver. I mean, look, Jacobs, is pretty solid. Yes, he gets banged up here and there, but he comes back. We'll see about Drake. But with rotating those 2, keeping them fresh, I think that we can get through it, because this offensive line is still they're running the ball fairly well. They're moving around. They're getting to the next level. So I think that the offensive line the starters can get to the next level and keep some of those bodies off of these guys. We'll be fine with an emergency running back. And then if we have to go with the emergency running back, then the next week we activate the other guys, Ragus, off of the practice squad if he makes it, and we're good to go. Until Jacobs or Drake comes back. It's not that crazy. You know what I'm saying? I know that most people want 3 running backs and blah, blah, blah. But if you have an emergency running back, then you essentially have 3 running backs and a fullback. But, you can do either or.
Okay. Was that your Homer's Hammer?
Nah.
Or do you have a Homer's Hammer?
No Homer's Hammer this week.
Okay.
No, I don't. But you know what? Hey, look, I would like to take this time to, send my condolences to Cesar Rodriguez's family. Raider Nation, if you're out there, man, the raffle for the helmet, the autographed Tom Flores helmet, is still up. You can just donate to the GoFundMe, and I'll put you in the raffle, and we'll spin the wheel, and the winner, I'll ship out the helmet to the winner. Cesar was a really good friend of mine, a great family man, a great friend, a great Raider fan. And his family is in need of help, and that's what we do, right? As Raider Nation, we look out for each other. So just go to my Facebook page and pin to the top of my page. You will see Caesar's post, and you can go on there to the GoFundMe link and donate, and then I will add you to the raffle wheel.
A very, very worthy cause.
All right, give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or text message at that number, or send in a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts. And this week on Raider Roots, we are going to revisit the year 1966. Unfortunately, the Chiefs won the AFL championship, but the Raiders had a really, really good year. So check it out. It'll be coming out, Raider Roots, tomorrow. And I think it's about time we find out what Homer does or doesn't know.
Hey Homer, did you know?
All right, now it's time for another edition of Hey Homer, Did You Know? In this segment, I will ask Homer and Heidi and the rest of our listening audience a Raiders-related question with 3 possible answers to choose from. It's multiple choice, so just give it your best guess. So here goes with this week's question. The Raiders and 49ers played this week in the preseason. Now, since 1970, the 2 teams have squared off 14 times during the regular season, but never in the playoffs. Who holds the edge in these head-to-head regular season contests? A, the Raiders hold the advantage 8-6. B, the 49ers hold the advantage 8-6. Or C, the 2 teams are even at 7-7. Homer, what do you think?
Well, The last time we beat the Niners, I believe, was when C.O. Moore was destroying Kaepernick. I think then we got blown out by them, and I believe that we were down to them 8-6. So I'm going with B. The 49ers hold the advantage 8-6.
Heidi, what do you think?
I'm just guessing here. I'll just guess something different, just to be different. I'll say C, the teams are even at 7.
All right, here's the answer. And I put a little hint in there that the 49ers have won 4 of the last 5 meetings and 5 of the last 7, and that the two teams play each other again next season in 2022. The correct answer is C. The two teams are even at 7-7. And that is this week's version of Hey Homer, Did You Know?
Boo!
I win again.
There you go, 7-7.
It's amazing winning all these weeks in a row.
Like a good old Seagram's and 7-Up, 7-7.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I can't really describe it to you, Homer.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be able to describe it either because I ain't winning. So, it's all good.
I will try to make it easier on you next week.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm learning just like everybody else here. So, and it's not like Heidi really even knew it. She said it. She just guessed.
Yeah, it was a total guess.
But it's okay. Toot your own horn. Toot your own horn there. It's okay.
I will tell you that next week's question is going to be related to the Ravens in some way since they're our first week opponent.
I'll have to do some book study.
And now, Raider Nation, it's time for Heidi's Heroes.
This week's hero comes from on the field. Rookie Nate Hobbs has had a fantastic preseason. He had a solid game with a sack against the Seahawks, and this week against the Rams, he was all over the field with a huge interception and some key tackles. He also added a defensed pass. John Gruden said of Hobbs, "I'm really proud of him. I'm really excited to see what he does in his future. We tried to summarize him a couple of days ago. He has the it factor. He rarely makes the same mistake twice. He loves football, and he eats it up. He's one of the energizers of our defense. He's walked in here and given us a lot of skills that we can utilize, certainly." Gruden doesn't often give game balls in the preseason, but he changed that policy for Hobbs. When Hobbs left the stadium against the Rams, he was carrying 2 balls, the one he intercepted and the game ball given to him by Gruden. Hobbs said of his play, "I feel like it's trying to be a pro at what I do. If I'm a professional, I can't keep making the same mistakes. At the end of the day, this is something that they entrusted me to do, and they're paying me to do it. So I feel like I'm a pro and I shouldn't make the same mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I'm a rookie and I'm a football player. You're going to make mistakes in the game. Just don't let it be the same one. So I just try to go about it that way." Hobbs didn't make many mistakes against the Rams or the Seahawks. He played all over the field, and his name was consistently called in a good way. I'm excited to see how he develops as he fights for a starting cornerback spot, and it is for these reasons that he is this week's Heidi's Hero.
Boy, and I'll tell you what, he showed up in that game against the Rams, and you already mentioned it, Heidi. Gruden doesn't make it a point to give out game balls, particularly during the preseason, but he gave out one to Nate Hobbs because he is going all over the place and doing exactly what he's asked. If he is not starting at slot corner for weeks 1 and 2, I'd be awfully surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him take that over for good. But we've heard good things about him from the very beginning. He came in with a chip on his shoulders as a 5th-round draft pick and said, "Don't count me out because I've got big things to do," and he is doing those things on the field. Good hero.
Yeah, he came off of that block and laid the wood on the running back in the flat to give us good field position. He got that great interception. He knew the ball was going deep, and he went and got it. He's a shining example of the type of player that we want to draft. And a good example of why this front office is really doing a good job. This guy, came in and really showed that he wants to be a Raider, that he is going to be a difference maker, and he is doing what it takes to be that type of player. And he's fairly level-headed, So I'm glad that Gruden gave him the game ball because he deserves it. If we can get that out of our slot corner, man, we're going to be doing good. We're going to be doing very good on the defense.
Yeah, and I could really see him being the starting slot corner for the first game of the season because Nevin Lawson, who has kind of been penciled in as the starter for slot, he's suspended for the first 2 games again. So I could really see Nate Hobbs stepping up, starting those 2 games, and maybe not even giving it up anymore. And that about does it for this week on the Only Nation podcast. If you'd like to help support the show, buy us a hot dog at buymeacoffee.com/onlynationpod. You can find me, Heidi Stabbert, on social media as @KeblerPromDress on Twitter and Instagram, or Heidi Stabbert on Facebook. You can also find me on YouTube on Captain Jack Rackham's channel every other Tuesday night. I join the DC wench Peggy Holmes and Andrea Trask on the Captain and Wenches show.
All right, Raider Nation, we are getting closer and closer to the start of the 2021 season. And please follow me by going to theraiderhomerchannel.buzzsprout.com. Also, please go to chuckystuggs.com and get you a flag. Enter the promo code HomerFlag to get $9.99 off of your flag. If you can get in that stadium and get that flag shown on TV, you can win $500. So just go to chuckystuggs.com and buy your Chucky Stuggs flag.
And stay tuned with Homer because Homer's going to be there in Vegas for that first game of the season against the Ravens. Homer, I know you can't wait for that, but I'm looking forward to being in touch with you all as we get closer to that game.
I'm definitely looking forward to being in Vegas for the second year in a row. This is going to be an exciting time. And again, fingers crossed that I can find my way into that stadium.
You will. You'll find your way, and Raider Nation will be right there behind you. All right, Raider Nation, preseason's here, and we're right in the middle of it. So now that you've listened to our show, here's what you need to do. Send us your name and address so we can send you some free Raider swag. Call us and tell us what you want to know. Throw us an interesting nugget that we can use on one of our upcoming episodes and become a part of what we're doing right here. Remember, this is the Only Nation, and we want you to be a part of it. So call us 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. There are 2 easy ways to find me on social media. You can send me a tweet at T3_sports703, as several of you do, or you can hit me up on Facebook at Tom, Thom Jones. I'll do my best to respond back, and I would love to include your comments on an upcoming show. And thank you for tuning in, also getting involved. And once again, I want to personally thank everyone for all the additional support and feedback on the Raider Roots podcast. And as Heidi mentioned earlier, we're getting ready to launch the episode that covers the year 1966. So make sure you stay tuned for that.
As always, we look forward to hearing from you guys. Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
We are not just a nation, we are the only nation. Raiders.